The first time Eli Turner heard the earth groan, he thought a storm was coming. Wind gusted sharply over the grasslands, and the barn lantern flickered with a nervous glow. But the sky was clear pink and gold from a sinking sun. Then came a second tremor, stronger. Directional footsteps. Eli froze where he stood by the horse stable, gripping his pitchfork like a weapon, though he'd never used anything more dangerous than a hoe in his life. He was the youngest farmer in the valley and the shyest. People liked him, but always from a distance. He lived quietly on the edge of town, too quiet, his neighbors often whispered. Some thought he preferred silence over company. Others thought silence had already claimed him fully, but the truth was simpler and sadder. Eli Turner had never had anyone to speak to. Not really. The final rays of daylight stretched long shadows across the fields when he saw at her. A shape as tall as a grain silo, moving carefully among the hills. She stepped into view like a spirit made of moon and mountains, towering, powerful yet visibly trembling. Eli stumbled backward, heart hammering. She lifted both hands to show they were empty. "Please don't scream," her voice boomed soft. Thunder wrapped in sorrow, Eli could barely breathe. She must have been 15 feet tall, maybe more. Her skin was sun-kissed bronze, her hair braided long with feathers, beads, and memories of a world gone. Clothing of deer hide clung to her powerful frame, decorated with Apache markings that told stories too ancient for the valley to understand. But it was her eyes, dark, glistening lakes of loneliness, that rooted Eli in place instead of sending him running. I don't want trouble," he stammered. "I don't want trouble either." Her throat tightened, voice cracking. "But it hurts being without a man." Her honesty struck him harder than fear ever could. She introduced herself as Nayelios, part of a great Apache tribe that lived with the land, not on it. But the spirits had marked her differently. A prophecy foretold that she would grow as tall as the mountains, as strong as the earth, destined to protect her people in times of grave danger. Instead, settlers and soldiers had come, and when battle and hunger swept through the tribe, she survived but could not save anyone else. She had been left behind, growing and growing until she no longer belonged anywhere. The world saw her as a monster. She had spent years hiding in canyons, watching distant fires and hearing laughter that wasn't hers, until she found Eli. She confessed she had secretly watched him for months, how he talked to his cows like friends. How he worked sunrise to midnight, how he sometimes sat by the fence staring at the stars as if asking them why they were allowed to shine when he wasn't. Loneliness recognized loneliness. "Why me?" Eli asked softly. "Because you look at the world as though you're waiting for someone to look back." She replied, those words pierced deeper than any bullet ever could. From that night on, Nayeli visited him under cover of dusk. Eli brought her baskets of food, whole crates of potatoes, carrots, cheese rounds, and jars of honey. She ate with delicate fingers, always careful not to break anything. Sometimes she would lie on the ground, and he would sit beside her enormous shoulder, leaning on her like a warm, living hillside. She told him stories of spirits that dance in fires and rivers that remember voices, of her mother's lullabies sung in the Apache tongue. Eli never interrupted. He listened as though every word kept him alive. Days blurred into weeks, and their secret companionship blossomed into something deeper, gentle touches, stolen smiles, a love that didn't need permission from anyone, but secrets rarely remain. Hidden forever, one morning a rancher came to town babbling that he had seen a giant monster lurking near Eli's farm. Panic spread faster than truth. The townsfolk held meetings. The sheriff, a man with more pride than sense, saw glory in slaying a legend. He rode to Eli's farm with armed men. Eli lied. "She's harmless, she's my friend." But fear does not respect truth. "Fear wants a villain," the sheriff ordered. A hunt. Nayeli stopped visiting for days, terrified. Eli waited beneath the stars, anger simmering in his chest. Finally, like the moon answering a prayer, she returned, though sadness weighed heavier on her shoulders. "They will kill you if they see you," Eli warned. "And if I lose you," she countered, "there is nothing left worth living for." That night was the turning point. Torches appeared in the distance, glowing dots marching like war, shots fired. Nayeli tried to shield Eli, but a bullet ricocheted off a rock and struck his side. He collapsed with a cry and the world went silent. Nayeli lifted him in both hands, tears raining like a sudden storm. She fled into the wilderness while gunfire echoed behind her. For 3 excruciating days, she tended his wound in a hidden cliff dwelling, grinding herbs her ancestors once used, singing prayers the spirits might remember. She barely slept, clutching his hand as if letting go would end everything. Eli's recovery was slow but defiant, just like him. When he finally stood again, they shared a first embrace, awkward, tiny and colossal but perfect. We faced them together this time, Eli said. No more hiding. He returned to town with Nayeli towering behind him. Gasps filled the streets. Mothers shielded their children. Men reached for rifles until Eli raised his voice louder than he ever had in his life. She saved me. She has hurt no one. If you kill her, you kill the only good I've ever known. Silence fell. Nayeli knelt, placing one massive palm on the ground to show peace. The sheriff stared, gun trembling, at the quiet plea in her eyes. Years of hate crumbled when faced with undeniable humanity. The town reconsidered, and over time, they changed. Children approached her first, brave and curious. They brought wildflowers and tiny fist flowers she would tuck gently into her braids. Mothers brought blankets and beads, decorating her clothing in respect. Elders shared legends of giants in other cultures, welcoming her into stories larger than fear. Nayeli still slept in the mountains. Her size made town life complicated, but she visited daily. Eli built a massive shelter at the edge of his farm, where she could rest comfortably, a home big enough for her heart. He grew stronger too, more confident, speaking up at meetings, volunteering, tutoring children in reading. With Nayeli beside him, he discovered the voice loneliness had long muted, yet challenges remained. Some travelers mocked her. Others wanted to capture her, cage her, put her in circuses. Dark rumors spread about unnatural love. Eli was insulted, threatened. But Nayeli's giant hand would steady him, her voice reminding him, the earth never apologizes for its mountains. As months turned to seasons, they built a life that defied every expectation. Every morning, Eli would walk outside and find her waiting, eyes shining, hand extended like a sunrise. On winter nights, she let him sleep in the crook of her arm to stay warm. On summer evenings, they watched the stars and she taught him names for constellations only her people remembered. They talked of marriage, though no church was big enough. They talked of children, though neither knew what fate might allow. But they agreed on one truth: love only needs space in the heart, not in the world. One evening, years after their first meeting, Nayeli asked again, voice trembling like it did the night they met, "Do I still hurt you, being who I am? Too big, too different?" Eli curled his fingers around hers, though he could only hold the tip of one. "You being gone hurts. You being here heals." She cried softly, tears falling like quiet rain. Many people love in ways the world recognizes. But some loves are meant to shake the earth, to rewrite what hearts believe is possible. Eli and Nayeli's love did not ask permission. It did not wait for acceptance. It simply lived, towering, gentle, fierce, and every time he brushed her cheek with his small hand, every time she whispered his name like a sacred prayer, their souls proved what fear could not deny. Even giants need to be held. Even shy hearts deserve to be seen. Even impossible love is still love. So when Nayeli whispered under the stars, "It hurts being without a man," Eli answered with the certainty of a man who found his purpose, "You'll never feel that hurt again. Not while I breathe." And together, on the land that once shook from loneliness, the ground now trembled with the footsteps of love, heavy, hopeful, and home at last.